Hello and welcome to AleksConnects Creative Sandbox making WWE Superstars art. My name is Alex and let's continue to sculpt CM Punk. No, we're actually not sculpting CM Punk, we're painting CM Punk now. So again, we kind of restarted from the things that we left off. In the month of September, we mostly focused on CM Punk's sculpting because at that time I didn't knew where to push this project in terms of the studying, like what exactly the result is going to be. I just basically decided, okay, I'm just going to sculpt and that's it, and we'll see what's going to happen. And throughout the process, throughout the month, I kind of figured out that I need to actually turn it into the painting in the end. And based on that, I figured out the mistakes that I did. And, again, I talked about this in a previous session. We're not going to talk about it anymore. So, yeah. So, in previous session, in most cases, I worked on the idea stage. And throughout today's session, we kind of will continue where I left off in the previous stream because I didn't have time to do anything, unfortunately. So the only thing that I did though is I went through the reference search, which we will discuss a little bit. I went through the reference search. I found about 45 references for the CM Punk. Not necessarily for the CM Punk itself, but based on those descriptions that we figured it out. And the problem with those descriptions, it was rather hard to find something with those descriptions because it's just, they are not necessarily searchable. It seems like they're searchable, but they don't provide proper visuals for us to kind of work with. Again, we're going to talk about it in a couple of minutes, so after we will finish to kind of overview WWE, made predictions, because again, throughout the session, each session is going to start with a quick overview what we're going to talk about in this session, what we're going to do in this session. Then we will go into the talking about WWE week, like the past week. Sorry for that. Yeah, that was quite a sneeze. Whew, that was awesome. If you want to sneeze, you have to sneeze. It's important. Don't hold it. So actually trying to find the information about the previous week, and I can't. So I actually don't know what I talked about in terms of the NXT and 205 Live on the next week, so I'm kind of confused a little bit, truly. I will cover the things that I think I didn't cover, but it's a good chance that I didn't cover anything from the previous week actually, because I figured out that I'm not going to stream and I decided not to take notes, so there's a good chance of that. So whatever. So again, quickly cover the things. So again, throughout today's session we will hopefully we will start to draw a sketch, which is the idea. Throughout today's session I will start to draw a sketch. I doubt that we're going to finish the sketch because I don't know how much time I'm going to spend doing this. I still don't have that much of experience in this type of pipeline, so still adjusting to it. I didn't know what is the limit that we need to go with the sketch and actually call it finished. Again, we're going to use as an example an Emily project from Twitch that I'm doing right now there. It's a little bit more ahead than CM Punk's thing, but still, this is something that I need to connect like two pieces together. So the things that I'm doing on YouTube and things that I'm doing on Twitch, they are separate in terms of the theme, because the theme on Twitch is kind of an overall theme. We can talk about anything, we can talk about mostly any stuff out there, but on YouTube it's a specific niche for WWE related topics and for WWE related art. So every art that I'm going to work with on YouTube streams is going to be WWE only. So which is the whole idea of separating those two and starting to stream on YouTube specifically this type of content. So After I will finish the sketch, like, I don't know, basically till the end of the session, I guess we'll just go into talk about references, what I gathered, we will try to use them and utilize them into the reference. So basically we're just going to explore the basic sketch and we're going to work on that. So there's not going to be that much throughout today's session in terms of the super awesome results. Hopefully we will find a decent topic to talk about while I'm going to paint this and make the sketch. That's kind of it, yes. I doubt that we will start with brainstorming today because, again, in order to start with brainstorming we need to make sure that the sketch is finished. So it's kind of a thing. Not necessarily 100% finished, but kind of finished. Let's just check the sound and go. It's finished. So, yep, sound works good. So that's kind of it. So the first thing that I want to talk about, today we actually need to talk about a lot of stuff when it comes down to WWE. Mostly I'm interested right now in Mae Young Classic and in predictions towards Super Showdown, which is again we will cover, and after that we will continue with the creative. So let's just put our WWE thing on top and work with it. So the first thing that we're going to quickly discuss is 205 Live. Again, I not necessarily remember what happened in the last week of 205 Live. It might be the case that next 205 Live, like the previous week for the 205 Live, was TJP versus Door. No. Actually, he already did this. So right now TJP working within a new gimmick, which is actually pretty cool. He goes against all luchadors and tries to remove their masks. So first week it was probably Lince Dorado. This is the first week. The second week was Grand Metalik, and now this week I believe he tried to remove from Calista, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I don't remember what exactly transpired in the last week. So we're going to talk about this week, and maybe I will remember something throughout the from the previous week. So in most cases, the 205 Live itself was Gallagher versus Tozawa. It was actually, by the way, a pretty decent match. What else? I believe that was exactly that. Drew Gulak then turned on Brian Kendrick because Tozawa apparently lost because of it. No. The Gallagher lost because of it, and Drew Gulak basically he, by the way, brought back PowerPoint presentations, which was kind of weird, because sometimes people love this, sometimes don't. So at this particular instance, it was a bad timing, so no one cares about PowerPoint presentation at this point. He should bring it back a little bit earlier when people actually want it. Either way, it was the idea. The reason, I guess, why he actually pulled PowerPoint presentation is to basically kind of make a suggestion that Brian Kendrick is weak link and he needs to be thrown away out of their group, and which they exactly did. So it was weird, but let's see where it's going to go. At least some type of a storytelling there. Hopefully it will happen. And the second thing is, of course, the Kalista versus TJP continued. Match was pretty awesome. Kalista in the end won, and after Kalista won, TJP removed his mask and ran away into the audience. That was weird, and at the same time cool. I don't know. We'll see where this storyline will go. It's actually a pretty awesome storyline. Probably one of the best storylines that happened so far in 205 Live since the beginning, maybe. No, the one actually storyline that I liked a lot was involved Alicia Fox, when Noam Dar and at that time Rich Swann. That was pretty cool storyline. I mean, and I believe Cedric Alexander there was too. And that's it. There's nothing actually happened. Everything in 205 Live kind of builds up towards a Super Showdown. They showed a couple of replays about Alexander and Buddy Murphy. And again, we will talk about Super Showdown and in predictions part. Continuing. So next we're going into the NXT. So again, I don't necessarily remember what happened in the last week's NXT because apparently I didn't make any notes. So I don't believe if it was the previous week, it was an awesome thing on a previous week or this week. I actually don't remember. It's just a freaking blur. Whatever. So, doesn't matter. So, the only thing that I remember from the previous week is Bianca Belair in the main event fought against Nikki Cross, and that was a pretty awesome match. And in the end, this feud will continue, and it will continue in 2 weeks. Which definitely something that I'm waiting for. Yeah, we're kind of finished with this. Let's just go into the NXT. Okay. Yeah, today this week's show started with Nikki Cross speaking about craziness and bad behavior, and the fact that she knows who attacked Aleister Black, or at least like assuming towards that direction. Candice LeRae fought against Lacey Evans, which was a pretty cool match. Actually, that was definitely a super cool match. They told a pretty decent story, and it was pretty brutal. So what else transpired? Of course, we saw a kind of interviews from Ricochet, Pete Dunne, and Cole in the video, because they're going to fight next week in a triple threat match for Northern American Championship, which is pretty cool. Definitely waiting for it. So for North American Championship, basically it's going to be defended between Ricochet, Pete Dunne, and Adam Cole. It's going to be sick. So waiting for that. What else? ECG fought in the main event against Lars Sullivan, and that was actually a pretty weird match. They both like bleed out almost because of the brutality of this match, but in terms of the storytelling, it was not that good. It was just in general a pretty cool match, but not in terms of the storytelling. So Gargano versus Nice created a pretty sick match. I don't know what Nice is doing from 205 Live on NXT at this point. But it was actually an awesome match, which basically shows that they're definitely not allowing 205 Live superstars to show everything that they're capable of. I mean, I don't know why is this, but again, we're not going to talk about it today. A lot of things to do. But in the end, it was a pretty awesome match. Gargano versus Nice. It was freaking sick. Ciampa said something. I actually don't remember what he said. It was kind of pretty repetitive from the things that he said previously. So, okay, that's kind of it. Yep, Logan and Birch, or Lorcan and Birch, got interviewed, and they said that, yep, after their injury, they are now getting back, and now they're going to do everything in their power to climb on top of the tag team division or whatever. That was pretty cool. What the heck? Why it's moving? It wasn't supposed to move. And there was a pretty weird fight of I forgot how they called. Forgotten Sons against 3 weird guys that I don't know, and of course Forgotten Sons just basically won this match. That was it on the NXT. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is going to be a Mae Young Classic, and after Mae Young Classic we will go right away into the predictions. Again, for now I'm going to focus on WWE, talk a little bit less, because again, as I said before, just talking about this thing with myself, it's just not necessarily super cool. I would want to have people to talk to about those stuff and basically discuss those possibilities and whatever. So again, first we're going to talk about the results of the Mae Young Classic. So I don't remember the actual matches from the last week. I believe, so we just go into basically show all winners from all things. So again, with this bot, Meiko Satomura won, in this Mercedes Martinez won, in here Tegan Knox, right here Nicole Matthews. Probably it was last week. I actually wanted for Isla Dawn to actually win, but for some reason Nicole Bates won. I don't know why. Maybe because she's from Canada. Who knows? So, what else transpired? Probably last week. Also last week, probably Tara Conti fought against Jessica Alaban or not. I don't remember. Casey Catanzaro is freaking sick. I mean, come on, she is awesome. She's already lost, by the way, but in this week against Rhea Ripley. But she definitely has a future in WWE. She's freaking sick. I mean, what she can do on a ring gets freaking impressive, and she's not that experienced wrestler. It's all about body control, as I said before, and the fact that she's pretty small and tiny allows her to control her body pretty well. So what else? So right here, Toni Storm, Hiroya Matsumoto, which was weird. By the way, I actually wanted for Rachel Evers to win, and this particular thing right here, Zixus won, Deanna Purrazzo won in here. We already talked about it, I believe. Xia in here, of course Caitlyn in here, and right here, Mia Yim. Yeah, so and this week we saw the fight between Toni Storm and Hiro Matsumoto, and of course, like by the prediction, Toni Storm won. I actually believe that Toni Storm is going to go into the finals. Now, I definitely would predict that Toni Storm will like fight in the finals. She definitely could put on a show. Also, I believe that next week Caitlyn is going to win against Mia Yim, and in the semi-final, Caitlyn is going to face Toni Storm. Because between them there's going to be a pretty decent dynamic, and only that way you will be able to give Toni Storm a win, because I don't know, although Mia Yim is pretty awesome, but still Caitlyn is just a little bit more popular in terms of the fact that she's kind of already was a star in WWE, so but I don't believe that she's going to go like continue into the actual main event or whatever, into the Evolution. I believe she's going to lose at some point. It all depends what she's going to show. I don't know. Maybe she will impress us. Then we saw Lacey Lane fight against Tainara Conti. By the way, Lacey Lane is freaking sick, and the fact that she won was pretty clear, and like I actually wanted for her to win. So nothing against Tainara Conti though. She's pretty impressive too nowadays. So of course on this side Rhea Ripley won against Casey Catanzaro. That was a pretty awesome match. And on this side Meika Satomura faced Mercedes Martinez, two veterans, and of course this veteran won. I, by the way, don't believe that Meika Satomura will continue till the end, because again there's no point in, I don't know, investing time in WWE for veterans. Usually they will push someone that has a little bit more future potential, and because of this, I believe she's going to face Lacey Lane, and there is a good chance that Lacey Lane might win. Then from here Toni Storm is going to win, and Lacey Lane then is going to fight against Toni Storm. This is basically a dream match for me personally. I want to see Lacey Lane fight against Toni Storm in the semifinals, and then Toni Storm and whoever's going to win in here is going to face each other on Evolution pay-per-view. Right here, actually, from this side, I believe the people could that actually have potential to go into the finals, probably Tegan Nox, Loshirai, and Deanna Purrazzo. These three are kind of, I believe, pushed a little more than the others. Rhea Ripley has the potential too, but she's like straightforward brawler. She don't necessarily show like pretty matches and super psychologically intense matches. She just kind of super tough, and that's it. So I don't believe that it's going to play good in the main event, because last year it didn't work with Shayna Baszler and I forgot her name. Come on. Yeah, last year didn't work with Shayna Baszler against seriously? Kairi Sane. How could I forget the Kairi Sane name? So yeah, because of the fact that at that time Shayna Baszler was just straight brawler with not necessarily that much of a skill, and because of this the main event was kind of not necessarily super impressive. So hopefully they're not going to do the same mistake, and they're not going to put Rhea Ripley against Toni Storm or whatever in the main event, but they actually will give something like opportunity to someone like Tegan Nox or Deonna Purrazzo. The only reason why Deonna Purrazzo might not go into the finals is because she already signed it to the NXT. But who knows? Who knows? I'm not going to predict anything in this particular instance. So yeah, that's it. We've finished, I guess, talking about that. Let's just continue into our predictions and start to work on our project. Okay, so again, the next show is of course a Super Showdown, which is going to be on this Saturday. So the card is this: The Undertaker versus Triple H, The Shield versus Braun Strowman and Dolph Ziggler, McIntyre, the AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe for WWE Championship, Ronda Rousey and Bella Twins versus Riot Squad. SmackDown Women's Championship is going to be defended by Becky Lynch against Charlotte. Flair, John Cena and Bobby Lashley, which is the weird tag team, is going to face Kevin Owens and Elias. Daniel Bryan is going to face Miz, and the winner is going to become a potential #1 contender for the WWE title against Styles or Joe at that point, which is exactly why I chose this. So we're going to talk about predictions in a bit. And SmackDown Tag Team Championships, New Day versus The Bar, which I don't care about at all. Asuka versus and Naomi versus the AleksConnects, because this is Australia and they're from Australia. And Cruiserweight Championship basically is going to be defended by the Cedric Alexander versus Buddy Murphy. So we will start with the bottom. So I believe that in this particular instance, Buddy Murphy is going to win, not because of certain kind of things, because I just want this. So it doesn't matter who's going to win on 205 Live, because it's not necessarily going to change 205 Live completely. But I believe Cedric Alexander as the champion not necessarily works, because he doesn't defend title very often. I don't know the reason behind that. He definitely kind of became replaceable in terms of the champion, and I believe Buddy Murphy is going to be much more imposing in terms of holding a title. He's a little bit more intense, and he actually will bring a little bit more intensity to the title defenses. And don't get me wrong, I love Cedric Alexander's abilities in a ring, and there definitely will show a super awesome match. This is again one of the matches that I'm waiting the most in this show, so it's going to be an interesting. But I definitely believe that Buddy Murphy should win, not just because Buddy Murphy is from Australia and this is his hometown, some sort of, but because he actually needs to win, because it's time. So Asuka and Naomi versus AleksConnects. Right here I'm choosing the AleksConnects just because they are in Melbourne, Australia. It's going to give the AleksConnects much more push, because most of the matches they actually lost in terms of the feud against Asuka and Naomi with different reasons. And they definitely, like, the WWE doesn't take them seriously, and this could put them on a map. Because again, Asuka and Naomi, it's not necessarily a pretty decent team, and there might be a miscommunication out there, and AleksConnects just could outsmart them, feeding off the audience energy. So I'm actually hoping for the AleksConnects to win in here, so I'm definitely putting my money, virtual, not existing money, on AleksConnects. So in terms of the SmackDown Championship, I don't care who's going to win. I just don't want the Bar to win. So hopefully New Day will defend the titles, and they will continue the feud against someone better. But there is a good chance that the Bar are actually going to win the title, and then they're going to give opportunities to other tag teams. I don't know, who knows. I don't care about this one actually, it doesn't matter who's going to win, I just don't want the Bar to take the title, truly, and because of this I'm kind of betting on New Day. Daniel Bryan versus The Miz, because the winner is going to become a number one contender, potential, again it's not 100% clear. I'm choosing Daniel Bryan because, as I said before, I want Daniel Bryan to win the championship the actual way. And Miz is much more decorated champion than Daniel Bryan. Because of this, I believe Daniel Bryan just basically deserves it more, because of the fact that since he got back, he never faced like seriously against the titles, and he just basically feud against weird things. Yeah, definitely Daniel Bryan. John Cena and Bobby Lashley against Kevin Owens and Elias. Right here is just my personal choice. I don't believe that it's a good idea to give a win to John Cena and Bobby Lashley, because again, John Cena right here is to push other superstars such as Elias and Kevin Owens, and because of this, Bobby Lashley himself doesn't need a win either, because again, it will just continue the feud itself. I mean, Bobby Lashley will potentially continue to feud one-on-one against Kevin Owens, maybe Elias is going to be in the picture, maybe Bobby Lashley is going to find a tag team partner, don't forget about Lio Rush, they might fight together against Kevin Owens and Elias, and it's actually pretty interesting kind of storyline, which definitely an awesome thing to look at and analyze where it's going to go. Until Sami Zayn is going to return, and then Kevin Owens will get back into super awesome friendship with his best friend, and they will continue to dominate Raw Tag Team Division. So because of this, I'm basically betting on Kevin Owens and Elias. Hopefully they will win. But again, in terms of the fact that this match is nothing, and lately Kevin Owens and Elias are losing everything that they can, there's a good possibility that John Cena and Bobby Lashley will win. But again, I'm rooting for Kevin Owens and Elias, because they have a pretty awesome chemistry actually. I believe Kevin Owens has an awesome chemistry with anyone. He has even an awesome chemistry with Natalia, which is weird. SmackDown Women's Championship, again, I believe Becky Lynch definitely will defend her title. Because again, right here we need to focus everything on Becky Lynch, because if Charlotte is going to win, it's going to be completely pointless to get Becky the title and then just basically stall it back. It's just stupid. I mean, Becky 100% needs to right now stand the ground and establish her dominance in the women's division on SmackDown and basically dominate. Maybe even put Charlotte on a shelf. Who knows? Like, go rest Charlotte. I mean, from the standpoint of Becky. So Ronda Rousey and Bella Twins, again, the weirdest combination ever against Riot Squad. Right here, I actually want for the Riot Squad to win, but I doubt that is going to happen, because don't forget, this is a freaking Bella Twins and freaking Ronda Rousey. Lately, Ronda Rousey is losing. Because of this, she needs to get back her momentum and basically change the momentum, and because of this, I believe Ronda Rousey and Bella will win, because it's just going to be better for the business, not necessarily for the future. In here, I'm definitely rooting. I will continue to root for Samoa Joe, because again, I still believe that Samoa Joe needs to take the title on his shoulder and basically start to dominate SmackDown division with crazy awesome feuds. And Styles needs to go and basically rest with his family and heal a bit, because he's definitely kind of burned out. This is just my estimation. Right here, I don't care who's going to win in here. As I said before, as in the previous thing with Hell in a Cell, in terms of the when Hell in a Cell transpired, it was important who's going to win in here, because whoever is going to win is going to hold all titles or whatever. In here, it's actually not important, considering the fact that Shield versus Braun Strowman and Dolph Ziggler and McIntyre. So this is actually going to be interesting, because this is the exact place where we could see a lot of things broke down. So since Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre are now kind of against Dolph Ziggler because he's pulling them back, they considering him a weak link, The same goes with the shield that with Dean Ambrose. Because of this thing, that might something interesting might happen in here that could completely change the story. But if nothing will happen, then Shield 100% is going to win, because again, this is a freaking Shield, and they're definitely now like establishing their dominance in the division. Although I would want for Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, and McIntyre win. But again, this win is not going to give them anything. Like truly, if Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, and Drew McIntyre will win, it's not going to give them anything in terms of the storyline. So right here, it's better to give the win to the Shield. Then these three will have motivation to continue to feud. If these will win, it's kind of whatever. I don't know. Personally, for me. And of course, when it comes down to the Undertaker versus Triple H, again, they're not going to fight alone. I mean, in the Triple H corner, there's going to be Shawn Michaels, and the Undertaker's corner is going to be the Kane. Kane. And because of this, I truly don't know who's going to win in here. I would want for Triple H to win, but since this is the freaking Undertaker, I believe Undertaker is going to win. Unless Triple H will use Shawn Michaels somehow to defeat Undertaker. I don't know. But right here, I believe Undertaker is going to win. Although I want for Triple H to win. Maybe there's going to be a non-definitive winner, which could be the case too. When there's going to be a draw, no one is going to win, and general manager is going to enter and change the match into a 2-on-2 match. There could be a possibility, and then they're just going to face as a tag team, because the Brothers of Destruction against DX right away after unsuccessful one-on-one match, it's going to be awesome. Because again, this Super Showdown, it's not necessarily a regular pay-per-view. The whole point of this show is just to entertain the Australia, and because of this, they might use this type of trick and actually make this Undertaker versus Triple H match against Triple DX versus the Brothers of Destruction. And the reason why it's more likely, because they didn't put any indications in the official card that it's going to be Shawn Michaels and Kane, so they're kind of pulling our attention from it in order to kind of surprise us. So I believe that is going to happen, or at least I want this to happen, so whatever. And yes, that's kind of it. So the next pay-per-view after a Super Showdown is going to be probably an Evolution. After Evolution, of course, there's going to be a Crown Jewels, and after Crown Jewels, there's going to be Survivor Series, and after Survivor Series, there's going to be a TLC. Mixed Tag Challenge, I believe, is going to continue up till the TLC. It's going to be the longest one ever, because they created a pretty weird system. I actually even don't care about it. I mean, they created so stupid and weird system that basically they're facing each other multiple times, infinitely, until there's going to be a definitive winner. The rules are freaking unclear. I don't get it. So until then, let's just watch this Mixed Tag Team Challenge and Season 2. It's actually a super entertaining thing. I mean, the whole point of this thing is to entertain, nothing else. Nothing crazy is going to happen out there in terms of the awesome matches. The matches are going to be just entertaining, and so far it's awesome. So yeah, that's kind of sums up the WWE week for this week. Again, we talked about Cruiserweight thing, NXT, and what's going to happen potentially in the next pay-per-view. So next week we will continue to talk about this, and I'm going to probably review my predictions again in the end of the session. So that's it for this part of the session. Again, we're finishing with WWE, and let's just switch into the drawing and painting part and start to work on this. It's, again, to shift your mind from entertaining stuff into actually work stuff, it's not easy. So because of this, I might kind of stumble a bit, so sorry about that. I'm still adjusting. Also, as you can see, probably, hopefully, I changed a thing in here. So now, closer to my right and your left. Oh, no. I need to check this out. Yep, this is actually a painting one. So this is the painting thing. I also changed the description, so we actually going to study form and anatomy through drawing, painting, and intuitive sculpting as integration into creative process of the portrait. So basically all portraits that I'm creating, I'm going to integrate the studying process, and I'm going to study through drawing, painting, and mostly through intuitive sculpting, which is going to be a difference from the things that I'm doing on Twitch, because on Twitch I'm not going to implement sculpting, at least I'm not planning to. I might integrate sculpting there too, but only here there's going to be 100% only sculpting used to work with WWE superstars. One of the reasons why I decided to do that is because WWE superstars are usually a pretty good anatomical reference for the study, because they have different shapes and sizes, they have a different kind of body types, and it's actually a pretty good variety to study anatomy, and they're almost naked. I mean, for the artist that studies anatomy, this is the perfect thing to have. So and this is kind of it. So continue. So again, in the previous session we established our main focuses. We in most cases talked about the character traits, and they definitely kind of helped me to figure out where this could go. Outside of the stream, yesterday's stream, I spent a pretty decent amount of time, for about a couple of hours, maybe even more, to actually find a proper references for this, but I actually didn't find anything. So when I started to put in search inspiring, godlike, confident, charismatic, and leader, I truly didn't find any picture that fits those things, at all. The only thing that I thought, of course, when we put some leader thing and charismatic, there was a lot of kind of references with Jesus and Hitler, which was weird. Of course, I'm not going to save them as references because I want to put the religion and war and all these things outside of my streams, because it's not necessarily something that could create good conversations. So because of this, I needed to find something neutral, and it was not necessarily something neutral. I even saw a Charles Manson freaking reference. Of course, I'm not going to save him as a freaking reference. So because of this, I find this weird guy. I don't know what this guy is, but again, hopefully he's not a serial killer. So we could actually see who is the Scott Walker. It's just for the freaking interest. Genius. Why he's genius? Why? What? Okay, this is my YouTube channel. This is completely the wrong thing to search for. Seriously. Okay. Oh, he's a singer, American-British singer, composer, musician, whatever. The Walker Brothers. Okay, so it's fine. So yeah, I actually tried to find references that could depict a proper view. So again, I'm planning to view CM Punk somewhere closer to this view, not necessarily this tilted, but closer to this, and because of this I tried to find something godlike. So this reference is the perfect for it. This is actually kind of looks a little bit more godlike. It's from the bottom view, and we actually see this character as the god because he's above us and he's definitely kind of perceived as a godlike character. The same goes with this one. So again, it's pretty close to what I would imagine for the CM Punk. So since I didn't find that many references, and this is probably going to be the exact rotation of the head for the CM Punk. This is not CM Punk. I don't know what this guy is, who this guy is, but still, I guess he's kind of whatever. So it doesn't matter. So, and then the only thing that I started to find, of course, since I didn't find anything on unrelated topics outside of the CM Punk, I decided, okay, we just need to focus then on searching references for the CM Punk. Hopefully we'll find something. So this photo is basically the one photo that basically inspired me to create this Straight Edge Society thing. Once I saw it, I definitely pictured CM Punk like as a godlike character, and I decided, okay, we definitely want to use this one and find as much as possible information to basically, like visual information, to use it into drive with it our sketch. So again, I just basically found this, which is an interesting one. I'm not just a human being, I'm immortal, a legend, an icon, and in this world that you all inhabit, I'm a god. So I don't know who exactly created this. I don't believe that it was CM Punk, but if so, he's definitely kind of perceived himself as a god at some point, maybe, or at least some people could see him as a god. So my kind of idea to make him as a godlike character actually kind of works in this particular instance. So there's a portion of truth to it. I mean, in terms of how some people could perceive him. So yeah, because of this, again, I just went through a reference search for the CM Punk. Again, I couldn't find that much of a reference in here, so I needed to use a Google pictures for it, basically regular Google search for it, and then add this information into the Pinterest. So most of those pins are actually went from Google. Because of this, we have almost similar names for each of them. So yeah, in most cases, I just basically all the references that I tried to gather was all references that either could inspire me to picture CM Punk in a certain position, in a certain rotation angle, or give me some type of a information about his expression, his behavior, his body language, and etc. So because of this, I actually kind of saved a lot of different things. They are kind of similar, but not necessarily. In some of the references, I was interested in a beard, because of course the beard is going to be the crucial part of his thing, 100% by the way. So again, I want to show CM Punk with this type of beard, with a super smooth hair, so this is the actual kind of a plan. Oh snap, I know those guys. They're dancers. Okay, so where is it? Since we kind of finished the reference search for the CM Punk, we could actually make it available for the public. Because until, like, when I just searched through it, of course it was pointless to add it to the public, but now we actually could open it to the public. So again, this is all my reference boards. Each of this reference board I'm using for the different purposes. Like I love the tribal tattoo designs, so I'm just gathering all different kinds of tattoo designs. I also love martial arts in general, how they look, like they're dynamic. So we have martial arts photo and art. These are the references for my project that you can find right here on YouTube in 86 sessions. With Angry Birds vs Transformers, which is not finished yet. I will continue it at some point. Of course, I have my reference board with character features, which is again helps us to implement animalistic character features into the actual characters once we will start to design them. Of course, the character designs, just for the inspiration, the different reasons for those. We have different styles, different kind of storytelling, and there's a lot of kind of ideas behind this board, but in most cases just overall character design. Of course, we have like the thing with portraits to see like what portraits are usually drawn with, like in terms of cropping, in terms of the placement, in terms of the positioning, in terms of the style, and etc. All these things kind of saved for the reason, like as the possibility to work with the portrait. And of course we have like the inspirational creative, which is super random. It's actually not necessarily 100% artistic. I mean, we have everything in here, so it's everything that basically inspires me to a certain extent, in a different ways. Like there's a mood, and awesome mood or awesome idea or something like this. And of course we have this Amelie portrait refs. This is something that I did through the reference search for the Twitch Amelie portrait that we're doing right now. And actually it was much easier because I've put in the search loneliness, and I find a lot of references with loneliness, which are going to load in here in a sec. Yep, I found a lot of references with loneliness. When I put a mysterious, I had a lot of like mysterious references that actually work as a mystery, and it actually worked with Amelie because the terms that we put in the search was much more clear, maybe, or a little bit more searchable. With steampunk, it was a problem, and every term that I put in the search from all those terms that we figured it out, like inspiring, godlike, confident, charismatic, leader, even wrestler, and then healthy lifestyle, and straight age, and healthy lifestyle, I didn't found anything at all. I mean, I even tried to like put importance and inspiration, confident, and role model. And the thing is, even if I would change them in terms of the description and use synonyms for it, I don't believe that I would find something clear and something like understandable. Again, it's all about learning how to deal with this information, and if this information is not searchable, you're still going to use this as a visual cue, and it's still going to be a primary focus. So the fact that we didn't find it throughout the reference search, it doesn't mean anything. We're still going to use and try to use it to try to implement the confidence through inspiration, godlike feeling. We're still going to implement straight edge thing and healthy lifestyle into the him being a role model for others. We're still going to try to implement charismatic and leader qualities into importance and inspiration. So even considering the fact that we didn't find anything necessarily visually, these things are still creating some type of image in our brain. It's an abstract image, it's not 100% clear image, but it still creates a certain image. Yeah. So because of this, I focused, okay, since I'm not going to be able to find the actual depiction of those descriptions in here, I need to go a little bit in a different route. And since I know what I'm working with, since I know the character, I know how this character looks like. I know that it's going to be CM Punk, and I know that CM Punk is going to have long hair and he's going to have a big beard. And I focused on those two focuses. So again, if you're not able to search through this type of thing, if these things are not giving to you anything, try to basically hold on to some type of visual image in your brain and try to search based on this image, which I basically did. It could be a good idea to actually establish like how we worked with it. So okay, we're not going to need that anymore. So let's just establish this. So how I did with the reference search is basically how I solved the problem of the reference search is to let's just put notes in here, like note. So reference search, it's a note for the future of projects. If I will stumble upon a project that I'm not going to be able to find any reference for, I need to find a way how to deal with it. And basically what I said right now, I want to establish as a note. So ref search based on keywords not regular keywords but established keywords. Okay, ref search based on established keywords. What? Established keywords was unsuccessful. Basically unsuccessful. Seriously. Unsuccessful. So instead I used visual cues. We need to figure out the proper spelling for it. So instead I used visual cues from character refs, which in this particular instance CM Punk, Punk's refs, and imagination. Yep, so did exactly that, or at least tried to do that. So again, instead of just basically restricting myself to search in these keywords that we established, if you're not going to be able to use the keywords, like ref search based on established keywords wasn't successful, and because he wasn't, it was unsuccessful, we needed to find something like the alternative, because we still need to find a proper references to put the visual information into the brain. So let's just check quickly the translation for those. Not the translation, but the spelling. Okay, based on established, so I could make a mistake in established. I didn't. Keywords I believe right, so unsuccessful. Unsuccessful. No, unsuccessful, it's actually decent too. Instead. Okay, instead works too. Visual cues, so cues. Cues. I don't know about the cues though. It's something that's okay. Social cues. Cues. Oh.
Cues.
Okay, apparently it's completely different. I know the word, but never spelled it, so. Cues. Yeah, so basically I used these visual cues from character. From character refs that I found. So basically just going through the CM Punk's references, and it basically gave me everything that I needed. And of course imagination. The imagination usually it's much more driven force. So, and I want to describe what type of words I basically figured it out. So for me, visual cues was so yeah, I used the next visual cues. Just describe them. Could be a good idea to do so, because it's going to help me to next time if I will deal with certain problems. Now I'm going to know, okay, now I know where to search information if I don't have it. Because again, with Emily project it was much easier because we have all information that we needed there. But with CM Punk it's not necessarily the case, because all these things are not necessarily giving us a proper description that we could use to find something in the in search. So I mean visually. Of course we could find a lot of leader, charismatic things, but again, charisma is something that's it's barely visible. It's something that you can see only throughout the situation and in the actual kind of situation. You're not going to find photos of charismatic people. You could, but again, they're going to be all over the place, and there's a different type of charismas. The same goes with the leader. So the leader could be anyone, and it all depends what type of leader. It could be a cult leader. It could be any type of leader. The president or whatever, or prime minister or whatever. So because of this, it's not necessarily fits the category in this particular instance, or religious leader. So the confidence, again, is something that you're not going to be able to find either in the search, because like confidence not necessarily could be projected through the actual look. So I guess right here we're just going to use our gut feeling, like how to view a confident person, and work with this. When it comes down to the godlike, again, you could find a lot of references like this, but again, this is not something that you could use freely, because there's a lot of kind of restrictions out there. And inspiring, again, it's something that, again, one person is going to be inspired by saying, the other person is not going to be inspired by the same thing. So again, kind of the element of uncontrol. And the same goes with unhealthy lifestyle, and healthy lifestyle is straight edge. It's just kind of, it's all about tattoos, it's all about like visually putting things, connecting things together, like having the bottles beside you or not having the bottles beside you, trashing out the cigarettes and drugs and whatever. So we're not going to be able to show this in the simple CM Punk's portrait with just shoulders and head. So because of this, again, if it would be a complex illustration, then we would definitely focus on searching something much more concrete. Like we actually could find some type of drinks, some type of smokes and drugs. I mean, in terms of the visuals, how they look. Usually in order to create some type of an interaction, viewers interaction of the CM Punk with those elements, or the surrounding people with those elements to show their unhealthy style. We're not going to be able to do that in here because it's a simple portrait. So because of this, I just instead used a simple visual cues. In the most visual cues was long hair for me personally. It was the main long cues for me that I used. So long hair. The second visual cue is long beard. Long hair, long beard, and the face direction. You could call it a body language too. So I basically used body language that I pictured in my mind. I used a visual cues from the references that I find for the CM Punk. Again, one of the references that I found right away once I started to search CM Punk's references was probably something like this. And okay, he kind of looks right here, pretty similar to to how I would want him to be represented. And then after going through the extensive search with the Straight Edge Society, of course I found this reference, which works with a pretty close look that I would want it for him to be. And this is the exact look that I actually want to draw him in. So I want for his hair not to be wet, they need to be dry. The same goes for the beard. So this way it will definitely create a godlike feeling for the CM Punk in this particular instance. Seriously? Okay. So yeah. And the only reason why Jared Leto is in here is because of the same thing. I found this visual cues, and I remember that Jared Leto, doesn't matter. So I remember him, and I remember that he definitely has some type of, like, at some point he had like a Jesus-like look to him, which again could be perceived as a godlike. So, and I kind of decided, okay, we definitely need to integrate this one in here. So I found references with him closer to what I needed, what I imagined, and I decided to use those. And in the end, it's actually super helpful, because again, we're not necessarily going to use the same things, but now we have a proper view. So I guess CM Punk is actually going to look a little bit similar in terms of the view in the sketch to this reference. Um, his his head is going to be a little bit more tilted, maybe a little bit more. So basically, I need to discover this. So this is something that I need to go with the sketch. So let's just go into the sketch finally and start to work, because we have about an hour to do that. Stop talking and start working. So I'm going to place this one on the second one. Monitor. I'll just put it in here. We're going to find the proper references, and I'm going to use those references. Not directly, but kind of indirectly. I'm going to take the information from all references that I gathered and from the descriptions that I gathered, because again, I know that I want to make CM Punk confident. I know that I want to make him appear as a role model, and I know what type of feeling or sense I want to evoke from the viewer, the importance, like the sense of importance and the sense of inspiration. So in order to do that, like CM Punk needs to be perceived important, or the viewer needs to feel like viewer is important, which is much harder to control. I believe we're going to go into the direction that CM Punk needs to look like an important person, and the inspiration is something that again needs to read in his eyes, I believe. So the element of inspiration, I believe I'm just going to make his eyes slightly kind of barely closed, like he's looking somewhere there. So I'm actually picturing him as somewhat like this. And let's just try to do this. The only thing that I don't know yet is how to work with his shoulder tilt. I still don't know the exact composition that I need to show him in. So again, we're going to work on perspective a little bit later. Right now, we're just going to dive into the sketching. So yeah, let's just go and sketch. We have about an hour to do that. Again, I'm going to use all this information that we gathered. Again, to repeat myself, if you feel like your keyword search is not unsuccessful and you can't find the proper visual results from the terminology that you came up with, which it's actually going to happen on pretty often. I believe it's actually going to be much more often than I would want it to be. Because of this, we're going to use a completely different thing. Instead, we're going to use the visual cues from the character, basically the idea in this. If we're going to work with existing characters, it's going to be much easier. If we're going to create our personal character, we're going to approach it a little bit differently. But still, we're going to dive into the visuals that we created in our imagination. So I imagine CM Punk with long hair, with the beard, and with the direction, with a certain body language. And then I tried to search references based on those visual cues. So this is kind of the way how we could approach it. Okay, so okay. Good. And let's just save this, and that's it. I don't know why. Why wouldn't I make it just straight? Skibbity-pa-boom. Again, as I said before, from now on streams are going to be a little bit, until I will get used to this process, streams are going to be a little bit kind of boring, I would say. So there's not going to be that much action in terms of the discussion and in terms of the actual drawing process. and I'm completely done with it. This is actually a good thing that we don't have any audience yet, because I'm not ready right now to accept any audience because I'm not familiar with my process yet. So first we need to establish our process, and then we will be able to become a little bit more confident in using it, and then distracting ourselves with speaking and talking with the others. So yeah, go into the sketch. So the original sketch usually uses a similar thing. So we have a background, which again could be changed depending on what type of mood we want. It's a regular kind of 50% gray, I believe, which got pulled down with opacity. We also have two layers. One is the line one. We're going to start with the construction, and then we will go into the trying to visually paint it. Again, as an example, so wait a sec. Yep. As an example, again, I could just basically open the MLE thing that we're working on now with on Twitch, and again, this sketch was exactly that. So I first created lines. Where's the first one? The original sketch. Yep, first thing I basically created kind of lines, not necessarily 100% right away started to do this. First, of course, I established a basic primitives, center lines, whatever. So, and only then we'll start to paint this one. The same we will do for the steampunk. Maybe it's going to look a little bit better or worse, I don't know. Again, with female form it's a little bit harder because it's much more softer, and you're not going to be able to show that many details, or could become super ugly pretty quick. With steampunk we have a little bit more freedom in terms of how pretty he could look like, because he not necessarily needs to be pretty. So go. I'm going to start with my pencil. Pencil is everything. So, as I said previously on my Twitch streams, that when you're starting to work with your first sketches, if you don't have that much of experience, it's better if you want to. It's better for you to start with the small sizes. So again, this is 100% zoom, without zoom at all. So it's just basically 100%. No. And within these 100%, you need to create work that's small enough for you to not spend too much time on it. So this sketch is just a basic sketch. We don't want to spend that much time on it. Okay, so I believe steampunk has a pretty elongated face. So let's just think about the rotation of the head. So the head definitely needs to be rotated in there, but it also needs to be kind of shown in 3/4 view, something like this. And if I'm going to create a super long hair for him, they're not going to be shown from every angle. So I kind of want to make him look somewhere there, but we need to do this carefully to not over push into the other side. I mean, I don't want to just show him from the side view. Maybe we need to review a little bit more. No. Yeah, let's just try to reveal him a little bit more. So he still looks there. I mean, I'm just establishing the direction for the face though. Because if I'm just going to draw a freaking sphere, I'm not going to have enough to do that. Okay, so yeah, and I want for him, for his jaw to be viewed from the bottom a little bit. So the jaw is definitely going to be viewed from the bottom. I will probably erase most of this. I just want to establish directions. Actually, when I draw the Amelie, I did it differently. Right now, I just decided, okay, whatever, we're going to create a cube. Because we kind of need to establish a perspective in here, and I want to show. It might be too much, but it might actually work, so you never know. Let's just make it a little bit smaller, because we definitely make it too big. We need to show a little bit more shoulders. I definitely want to show shoulders, that they're present. So this view is going to be from a completely different angle. It's actually going to look not even there. It's probably the look is going to be somewhere there. Again, for now I'm going to go into the extreme and deal with this way. Ideally, I would start with the actual simple primitive. So the thing that I started, it's actually pretty close to what I would probably start with. Depends on your experience. I believe you will choose your own personal kind of way of starting things. So his eyes are kind of relatively far apart, so they're not necessarily that close. There is a possibility that we would need something additional. Maybe I should keep this one. Yeah, I decided to start with a simple thing. I just want to establish the base and understand how this base is kind of viewed in perspective. Yeah, it's pretty far from what I would need and what I would want. But at least it's a good beginning, good start. Once we'll start to deal with the actual anatomy a little bit later, we actually already know the anatomy, which is pretty cool. We already studied CM Punk. Of course, we could use to draw CM Punk. We could actually use our model, like the sculpt, to do that, because we already studied it. But usually we're not going to have a sculpting before going into the stage. So this stage is actually going to be the first one. Because of it, I don't want to use sculpt. Of course, I could use a sculpt to produce a proper result. I mean, as a reference. But instead, let's just not do this, because again, I want to make sure that this thing is going to be kind of step-by-step thing. So, yeah, this is approximately the actual kind of direction that I want to show him in. The only, like, I guess the rotation of the head needs to be a little bit more pushed. Yep, I want him to look on top, like he's directed his eyes somewhere there. We're barely going to see his eyes though, if I want to make them really visible. Yeah, let's just not show this yet. It kind of will become destructive. Skibidi-boom. Again, I believe he definitely has much more prominent jaw than I established. At this particular stage, he doesn't necessarily need to look like CM Punk, like at all. The main reason for now for this stage is to just basically come up with the direction, like how exactly we want him to look like. In terms of the position, just a basic one. Like, what type of picture are you imagining in your mind? And I guess something similar to that, maybe. I would imagine. Okay, so I definitely need to create something like this. So right now, in terms of the body language already needs to tell something. I mean, right now, without having any facial features, without anything at all, we already need to read something closer to the confidence, the role model element, the importance, and the inspiration. The whole point of starting from here, without diving into the too crazy details, is exactly that. To make sure that we're not going to... And this is one of the reasons why we're actually focusing on the small size. Of course, shoulders is going to be much bigger. It's a man. Muscles a little bit more prominent, more visible. He looks somewhere out there. This is the exact place where the knowledge of the perspective will help you, because again, I'm imagining this kind of as a cube that goes somewhere there into the vanishing point. It's going to be much harder with his neck though, because like, would I imagine this neck as a cylinder? Two cylinders connected together. Okay, I believe I extended his shoulders too much. Again, we're going to work on the proper proportions a little bit later. Right now, I just want to make it look decent. It's better probably to start these type of things with this type of construction, not dive into the actual kind of, because the less time we're going to spend on this stage, the better. One of my problems was with Emily is the fact that I spent too much time on this stage. I mean, ideally I would probably approach this stage with the actual basic primitives without like going too far. With Emily, I kind of, since we're working with the actual painting and we're not going to use sculpt at all, the better visuals we're going to get, the better its potential result is going to be. With Steampunk, we are a little bit more reference oriented. I mean, with Emily, we will kind of create our own personal look for her. With Steampunk, we're just going to take something existing and just turn it into our version of it. But I don't know. We could say the same with Emily, though. Let's just put this one in here. So let's just make him less happy, more neutral. Because ideally I would want to make something like this. Like, I don't want to overcomplicate stuff. I truly don't. The simpler this thing will be, the better. So, a potential central line for the head. That probably will indicate the exact end for yeah, this is definitely going to be an unusual angle, and because of this unusual angle, it's definitely going to be a hard one to realize, I believe, which is a good thing, because again, if it's a good thing when you have challenges, because the whole point behind these portraits is to study and to make yourself better, to push yourself further and test yourself, test your abilities, test your, not necessarily a test, but I don't know. For me personally, like, for you it might be just a testing, but for me it's actually kind of not necessarily a test, it's a, no, it's actually works like a test. I'm testing my abilities. I don't know what I'm capable of, truly. I don't know. Okay, let's just create a separate line in case we would want to change something. And start to add some type of a additional details or whatever to implement the squinty eyes. And this is the problem with squinty eyes. I mean, since now they're in perspective, we're barely going to see those. Again, I'm not trying to draw steampunk in here, but maybe it's better to actually spend a little bit more time to figuring out how it's going to look. We already kind of studied his anatomy a little bit. I'm not going to draw his actual features right now. Let's just focus on the features, like the beard. He looks super weird. Because again, the problem with the beard, once we'll start to put the beard on, it will become kind of, I don't like his eyes though. The squinty eyes doesn't work. They're ruining the picture. They're distracting because they're wrong. Yeah, it's not supposed to be super awesomely looking thing. Not. This is not the idea. The idea is just to basically go with the basic sketch and see what we can work with, what not. And do we need to actually show him with this, in this view, or create something less extreme? It's kind of a question. In most cases we're going to go through the brainstorm to figure this out. On this stage it's probably not possible to do. Let's just, by the way, draw beard with the values. Let's just establish the area for the beard and for the mustache. Actually draw him and draw them, paint them, not draw them. There's a lot of unnecessary lines in here. Like his almost looks on the top. He looks awful at this point, but we need to start somewhere. The problem with this, I mean, I'm not using any kind of knowledge. I mean, I'm just using... I'm almost not using anything. I'm just trying to do things without anything behind my mind, which is the problem. It's one of the things that I don't like about creative process. I want to control things, but I'm not going to be able to control everything though. So it's not necessarily that many references that could give us the information how to deal with them. Maybe I rotated his head too much. Maybe we need to pull it a little bit. Definitely seem like it. No. Yeah, it actually looks pretty decent, but this, of course, it's kind of distracting. Okay, let's rotate. Actually, could rotate both of them if we will put them in a additional layer, in a group, temporary, like the group line, and we could put this thing on this and work with those two. So now this mask is applied to both of these layers. Good. And now we can, without affecting the layer mask, reapply thing. Yeah, I believe he is too out there. He needs to be but less. The rotation needs to be changed. I don't know. Again, this is something that we need to kind of test. I don't believe that this is the answer, like, this is a question that we need to answer on this stage. This is the problem. I'm still not sure, like, which stage we need to solve. What type of problems, like first at the beginning. I established in my process that this stage purely needs to be something like this, and the quicker this stage is going to go much quicker if we're going to focus on basic primitive. The second stage is going to be a little bit more when we're actually going to work with more information. But the thing is, it works for illustration, and if I would work with illustration, then I would probably go and it would be the end for the stage, and then I will continue into the brainstorming. But the problem with the portraits is the fact that the expression is everything, and the earlier we will start to work on expression, the better. And I'm kind of tearing myself apart in trying to choose, do I need to spend more time and make it something closer to the Emily portrait, which again seems like overdone for the first sketch. But at the same time, by doing this, I have more information for the next stage, and I will make it better and better and better, and in the end it will be better result. With this, if I'm going to just keep this one and we'll continue to the brainstorming and whatever, I'm not going to explore the overall picture, so the visual thing, it's not going to grow. So right here I already have some type of look, I already visioning her with certain expressions, I already kind of picturing her with the background and whatever, and I truly kind of, my brain develops her picture in my mind, this picture in my mind, and it becomes much more vivid and vivid with each layer that I'm putting there, especially when it comes down to the second stage, when we went into the composition and we applied like subtle changes, but they definitely different from the things that we had at the beginning. So again, if I'm going to do the same for the CM Punk, it would be awesome, but, and I guess with portraits this is the exact place where we need to push things for now, but with complex illustration, if we're going to work on to that or level of complexity in our basic sketch, we're never going to go into the rendering stage. I mean, can you imagine to draw the whole freaking sketch with this type of details? It definitely will take a lot of time, because there's a lot of kind of small changes, a lot of things. You spend a lot of time to make it look decent, although it's not the place for that. But you can't move forward until you will make this look decent. So this is the problem. If I'm going to spend on this sketch like 5 hours, it's not worth it. It needs to be a super fast one. But again, how can I create a super fast one based on that? This is a problem. Okay, either way, let's try. Let's just not do anything with it. Let's just make this one barely visible and try to draw an actual facial features on them. Let's just not create any values either. Maybe we'll use everything that we did there. The beard in here is actually going to be relatively visible too. It needs to be visible. If I don't like how crazy his rotation goes, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, one of the reasons why he doesn't look right is because of the hair. We don't have any hair. Let's just attempt to put some hair. So, moving down. So his eyebrows. going to be an important thing too. Pointy nose. Again, he doesn't supposed to look like CM Punk yet. We're not focusing on that. The main idea right here is a different one. I don't believe that he needs to look at us though. Again, we established that he needs to look in a different direction. Although if we will make him look at us, it's actually like creates a pretty decent feeling. It looks pretty decent, but the problem is it's not the thing that we want. The idea is to not to do that, but instead put his eyes away. Make him look somewhere there. Like he's looking in the sky. Probably not even there. His beard is pretty stiff. I mean, it definitely needs dynamic a little bit later. It's super stiff, crazy stiff. But again, this is not the time nor place to deal with this problem. Weird. Okay, it's time to put some hair. So with hair, it's going to be kind of a complex thing to do, because we're barely going to see the top of his skull. So again, I want to make his hair kind of, again, they're going to be long. Chunks of hair. I don't know. Should I need to make them bigger than they are? Oh snap, it looks super awful. Ugh. It's a progress. It's a small and super slow progress. Of course I'm not this is the problem. This is the reason why I'm feeling a little bit much more comfortable when I'm working with sculpting, because sculpting is a little bit more intuitive. Right here, you need to create an illusion of reality, and this is not something that I'm good at. So, yeah. Again, just don't have that much of experience in this. We're not going to create the end for this, for his hair. Let's just make them kind of fused. Don't forget about the ears though. This is something that I talked about on sculpting stages. If you're not going to establish in ears, you will not going to be able to create a proper transitions for the hair, because hair are always going to wrap up the ear and change a bit in their direction. Yeah, he actually has pretty big chunks of hair in here, considering the fact that he's tilted his fifth head too. Now it's a little bit higher though. I guess for the basic sketch it's kind of fine. I mean, there's no direction yet. There's no clear understanding how it's actually going to look like though. For the start, this might be a good one. He definitely going to have a tight lips, like he's thinking. Something seems super wrong. Maybe the hair. I guess we need to translate hair. Make them, because they're super low. Just redraw them though. Yeah, besides the fact that his head is too rotated into not proper angle, so I would definitely not rotate it that way. Okay, this one seems a little bit better. Ugh, sketches. I don't know, should I go into the lengths and try to actually kind of sculpt it, whatever, or not to. This is something that I don't know. Should I need to do it or not? Let's just try to do that either way. We'll have about 10 minutes till the end of the session, regardless, so... Not a good idea to start something new, but... Definitely seems like a good idea to do at least part of render. Doom, 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 doom. I still don't know what type of lighting he needs to be put on or put in. This is something that we'll figure out throughout the process. Still don't know if I'm going to paint him in clothes or not, so we're not going to think about it yet. For now, let's just put it clothes, just for the sake of... Yep. Dark one. We need to be careful with contrasts though. There might be some type of straight edge things in here. And of course, dark hair. He actually has not necessarily 100% dark hair, but they're relatively dark. Which again, combining with the dark, too many darks. It's probably not going to work as an inspiring person. Maybe we need to make him a white. Yeah, we could go with middle gray. Oh snap. Like, we could assume that he could have a white t-shirt. Because if there's going to be too much darks... But again, it all depends what we want to insinuate though. Almost everything in here is going to be freaking dark. There's going to be a dark, everything is going to be dark. Not the idea though. I don't know, like, to what extent we need to make his hair, like, how long they should be though, because I would make them definitely longer than they are, because it kind of works. So in most cases, I guess we're not going to see his clothes at all. It's just everything is going to be covered by the long hair, almost, and by the beard. Beard and long hair is going to solve all problems. One of the reasons why it doesn't look right, there's actually a lot of small things that we would need to cover in order to make it look right. Unfortunately, we don't have much time to do that. Apparently, I'm going to do that outside of the streams. This is the first time that I'm dealing with that type of crazy facial hair, so it's definitely going to be an interesting one to work with. The project itself, I mean. Which is completely fine. The last thing that I will try to do is just put these squinty eyes. Like he actually squinting. I don't know, he actually looks worse than before. I kinda like him more with just regular eyes, just opened eyes, not those little squinty eyes. But again, I'm not trying to make him pretty, it's not the thing. But it's going to be a pretty crazy balance to figure out how to work with it though. Okay, so yeah, it's going to be a hard one to do for a bunch of reasons. Again, I still don't know what light conditions I want to put him in. Small touches of light. And I guess on that note we're going to wrap up slowly. I don't know, I kinda don't like the result, but again, my brain just basically struggles with understanding the limitation of the stage, because again, I would want for the stage to be, oh this is horrible, I would want for the stage to be just a simple primitive like this, and for me it would be more than enough to continue to the next stages, and it's not going to give me insecurities when it comes down to the skills, because again, I get that at this stage I'm not going to be able to put all skills to the to the practice, because the reason why I created so complex creative process is to control all these small elements and make sure that by adding details step by step, I will in the end produce a proper product, decent product. But what I'm doing right now, and I'm trying to implement the gaps in my skills too early on the beginning of the stage, and of course it's not enough. Ideally, I would work on reference, like on the on anatomical references to make it a little bit more realistic. Ideally, I would definitely will spend time to make it look much more appealing or whatever. But instead of doing this, I'm just basically doing weird stuff and trying to draw from the brain that doesn't have still a clear picture how it needs to look like. And I right away try to make it look decent, which is never going to look decent right away, because again, it's just not time for it. So the same problem I kind of had with Emily, the only problem with her though by like spending more time on her, I actually kind of come up with the decent results, at least that I like. But it's not going to be the case for each project, and with CM Punk we kind of get in the opposite direction. And the thing is, I only spent an hour on it. I believe the sketch with Emily I actually did much longer, for a much longer period of time. I probably spent from 2 to 3 hours to that, or something like this. But again, no, 2 hours, and then I kind of make it better and better and better, shift it. The same kind of goes with this one, but again, I believe it's kind of more than enough. The idea behind the sketch is not to look pretty. The idea behind the sketch is to give us the information that we need to build upon this information. So basically build layer by layer by layer. And I guess this is the first layer. It's not finished layer, but it might be enough for us to kind of explore this and then come up with the better results in the end, because at the end it's definitely going to be 100% better. But again, the psychological problem in here is that the fact that I'm trying to make it look decent already right now, especially after I kind of produced a pretty decent result for Emily, and I kind of like it, and I decided, okay, I will do the same thing for the CM Punk, which not going to be the case, because again, it's kind of a little bit harder because of the different angle, because of the different stuff, like just the psychological problems. Again, everything works with your insecurities, and again, the reason why I'm controlling the process the way that I'm controlling it is to get rid of those insecurities. But again, until I will go through these stages and I will completely figure out, like, okay, I spent too much time on this, next time that I will start to work with this project, I will just do this. That's it, and it's going to be enough for me to proceed to continue to the next stage. For now, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough, and because of this, I'm spending extra work to do this. Although ideally, only time will tell if I actually need to go to these lengths or not. Like, one part of my brain tells me that I need to do that, to go to this, to these lengths. The other part of my brain tells me, man, stop. This thing more than enough. I guess we'll see. I truly don't know where is the limit in this. In my descriptions for the process, I need to work with the just basic primitives, and again, step by step to build on top of it. But again, it might not be enough for the portrait, because again, this is a character, and it's not a complex illustration, and this is something that I need to think about. So yeah, I guess that's kind of it for this part of the session. We're just going to wrap up the session at this node. I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed a little bit. I definitely need to spend a little bit more time on this, but I don't believe that I will do this. So it kind of seems like I'm having a conflict. One part of me wants to, wants to spend more time on it and push it somewhere closer to something that we had in here, because with Emily it definitely helped me to solve a lot of problems right away. But not every project is going to start like this, and like Emily started with all information they needed, with all information already gathered. Like, and CM Punk is a good example for it. Although again, I might make it a little bit better, and maybe it's still kind of will work. But again, let's just reiterate, in terms of the reaction, again, the indirect interaction with the viewer, no interaction is present, so he definitely not interacts with the viewer itself. Viewer could think that this character is important and kind of being inspired by it, because this look and from the bottom kind of creates this element, and the element on confidence and being a role model is something that we'll implement later. So ideally, I believe, like, even throughout the sketch, even without these sketch lines, by just having this one, we already kind of established these elements. So because of this, I believe it's unnecessary to go to those lengths. If you wanted, you could go to those lengths, but if you want to just basically spend time a little bit more oriented on a certain feeling, maybe it's better to work with the primitives first. Again, I'm not sure. For me personally, I'm not sure what type of route I need to take, because again, doing something like I did with Emily, it definitely seems like a good idea, but at the same time I have a feeling that I spent too much time on doing this. I mean, working with small sizes, killing your hand by working with small sizes and going into details, although it's restricted and I could like provide a decent result, and I don't know. Basically, this is something that I will do think about outside of streams. Let's just not talk about it in here, or I'm just going to confuse myself and those who listen. So yeah, that's it for this part of the session. Again, the last thing that I'm going to cover is our predictions for WWE. So again, next week, if nothing is going to change, hopefully I'm not going to cancel streams for some type of a weird reason that I'm going to figure out that I'm not heading in the proper direction in the process, which I doubt, but still. Next week we're going to talk about the results of the Super Showdown, we're going to talk about the results of the Raw, SmackDown, and of course the whole week. So it's going to be a pretty intense week because there's a lot of things to watch. I believe Super Showdown, considering the fact that it has much more matches than Hell in a Cell had, it means that it's probably going to be a bigger show. Like, it's definitely going to be a big show, unless there's going to be weird matches that are not going to go anywhere. So yeah, I guess that's it for this part of the session, or for this week. I guess we'll see you next week. Thank you for watching, thank you for being here, have a nice day or night, and see you in the next session. Bye.